Good morning, friends. Today we're going to work on planting cover crops in the potager garden. But first, let's feed the goats. Y'all need to see how much Sir Chester has grown. Good morning, babies. Good morning. Hey, Big Daddy Bo. Hey, Big Daddy Bo. Good morning, babies. Look who's at my feet. Chloe. Hey, Chloe. Hey, baby. Y'all ready to eat?
It's okay. Hey, Bo, you coming to the party? You coming to the party, bud? Hello, mister. Hello, you little milk face.
You guys always hear me talking about in my videos about crop rotation out here in the potager garden and incorporating cover crops into that rotation plan. So I wanted to show you guys today what cover crops, what fall cool season cover crops I'm planting in the potager garden in about 5 of my beds. Let's go sit up on the new porch and discuss why you would want to plant cover crops. What are the benefits and what are the different ones that you can plant and what do they actually do for you? Y'all check out our porch. I am impressed with my man. He has done an amazing job on this porch. I'm blown away really at how well he's done. He can just look at something and build it, or I can show him a sketch or an idea of what I'm wanting and he can just put it together and build it. And he's not a builder, he's not a contractor, but he built my garden shed, he built the chicken coop, he's built everything out here he's built except for the home. And he's just done it by just looking at something and getting an idea and doing it. So I'm really, really happy with this porch. Isn't it beautiful? I love how we decided to do the rails around the porch. We did it with these goat panels, and the goat panels have the smaller squares than the cattle panels do, and I really like the look of this. Now they're a little bit more expensive, but I just really think that these rails around the porch just add to it. I mean, just make it feel so farmhousey. I love it. He is 95% finished with this porch. The only thing we have left is we've got to add a gutter up there because the rain comes off too hard onto the porch there. So we're going to add a little gutter, and he's got to finish screwing down the decking boards on this side. That's a pretty tedious job, and he's just working on it a little bit as he can in the evenings. But other than that, the porch is finished. Now this underpinning here, we're not going to be able to do it right now. We're kind of tapped out on our money. Not kinda, we are tapped out on our money. So we're not going to be able to do the underpinning right now, but I'm hoping I can just plant some evergreens down this and kind of hide that. And then in the future, we can come back and do some kind of underpinning under here. I really don't like lattice, so I'm really not even sure what I'm going to do, but that's going to have to be in the future. But I'm just so excited to have our front porch finally built. I am stoked about it. Now it's not, you know, we haven't done anything yet because we're not even finished with it yet, but look how great it is. It's so big too. It's huge. It's like, I think it's like 650 square feet added. And this is our view from the porch. Isn't this great? Whenever we get the porch all finished, we will do a proper tour of the porch. But right now, let's go sit down and discuss cover crops. Okay. So first of all, what is a cover crop? A cover crop is something that you plant for the soil and not necessarily for you to eat or to consume or to enjoy really, but just it's something that you're planting to build your soil or to stop pest cycles or to add nutrients and nitrogen and things like that to your soil. So it's basically just planting a crop to build your soil. The healthier the soil is, the healthier the plant's going to be. And if the plant that you're growing is something that you're going to be eating or using medicinally or even feeding to your animals like as a forage crop, then the healthier that plant is, the healthier you're going to be or your animals are going to be. So before we ever plant anything, we really need to be focused on creating healthy soil. And it's not just a one and done thing. Like, it's not just building healthy soil and planting. It is something that needs to consistently be being done. Because when you plant tomatoes and potatoes and carrots and all of your crops, those things are pulling nutrients from the soil. And sometimes by planting those things, they can be causing pests to move in because they're attracted to that plant. They can be causing a pest problem. They can be causing a bacteria or a fungus problem or a nematode problem by the crop that you planted. So that's what's so key about planting cover crops is if you put a cover crop into your rotation, there's warm season cover crops and there's cool season cover crops. So if you will include a cover crop into your rotation of planting throughout a year, then you're consistently building nutrients in your soil, stopping life cycles of pests, building nitrogen in your soil, creating biomass in your soil, creating a more conditioned soil. So that's why in my garden plan, in my garden strategy, a cover crop is key. It's always in my plan throughout the year to plant a cover crop in those beds in a rotation because I want to consistently be building healthy soil. Another reason why you would want to plant a cover crop is because you don't want bare soil. Soil always wants a covering. You always need a covering on your soil. Now, whether that be the plant that you're growing or mulch or cover crops or something, you need a covering on your soil. When you go into nature and you look, just take a walk through the woods, through the forest, there's never bare soil. There's always a covering on that soil, like a blanket on the soil, a protection on the soil, whether it be leaf debris falling from the trees in the forest or just wild vegetation growing, vines, ground covers. There's always a covering on the soil because soil doesn't want to be left bare. And when you leave bare soil, it dries out and it cracks and it becomes a hard pan, and it just opens up a door for invasive weeds and things that you don't want growing in that area to grow, because something's going to grow. Whether you plant it or whether nature plants it, something is going to grow on soil. So instead of leaving your plot, your garden spot, your garden bed, whatever, instead of leaving it bare through a season like winter or fall or whenever you're not normally planting, instead of leaving that bare soil and giving that opportunity for the invasive weeds to take over, then plant a cover crop. Another benefit to planting cover crops is to eliminate erosion, to stop soil erosion. If you just have bare soil and it rains, that soil is going to wash away. You need some kind of vegetation that's got root structure that's going to help hold that soil in place. So there's multiple benefits to planting cover crops. They build healthy soil, they help stop erosion, they can help suppress nematodes in the soil, they can help stop pest cycles, they help build organic matter in your soil, they can break up hard pan like clay soil, they can help, depending on which ones you plant, there's some cover crops that can help add biomass to that soil and build up your soil and help break up that hard pan. They stop erosion, they help hold moisture in your soil, add nitrogen to your soil. There's just so many wonderful benefits to planting cover crops. So if you're not already, try to start thinking about how you can incorporate cover crops into your garden plan and into your garden beds and your crop rotation plan. There's all different kinds of cover crops that you can plant, and different ones can do different things. So depending on what you need, what your soil needs, or what plant or what's going on in your soil needs, or what plant that you're planning to plant needs, you can plant ahead of time the cover crop to help benefit the plant that you're going to plant the next season. So for instance, like tillage radishes, like daikon radishes, they have really deep tap roots, and those tap roots can help break up a hard pan soil, a clay soil. Plus they can take in that deep root and mine up nutrients into the foliage, from the root into the foliage, like a dynamic accumulator. And then when you chop and drop that foliage and incorporate it back into your soil, you're adding the nutrients back into your soil. So that's what like a tillage radish would do. Anything in your legume family, like Austrian winter peas, iron clay peas, chickpeas, anything in the legume family, that's going to be a nitrogen fixer for your soil. So for instance, if you were planting like brassicas in this bed the next season, right now would be a great time to plant a good nitrogen fixer that's going to fixate nitrogen to that soil, so that when you plant that heavy feeder next season, then you've got a really good base of nitrogen in your soil to help benefit that plant. There's cover crops like mustards that are biofumigants. So what they do is they help to suppress nematodes in the soil. They can help with disease, pest issues. They can stop life cycles of pests, pathogens in the soil. If you have an issue like I do, our sweet potatoes have wireworms. And I'm hoping that by planting a cover crop of mustards, that's going to help to stop the life cycle of that wireworm. I really hope. That's what I'm going for. I'm trying. It's going to be a good experiment. But that's what mustards do. They stop life cycles of pests. They help with pathogens and issues like that you have in your soil. And it's always recommended to plant like mustards after, oh, there's a fly bugging me, to plant these mustards after your potato crops. Big farmers do that. You see them out in the fields all the time, the mustards with the big pretty yellow flowers just all over the fields. That's usually mustards or brassicas. Pollinators and beneficial insects love a lot of cover crops like clover and sunhemps. Champ found his ball. But clovers and sun hemp and a lot of the legumes, pollinators love the cover crops and beneficial insects, hoverflies and ladybugs. Beneficials love the cover crops. So right now I'm getting ready to plant cool season cover crops. It's fall going into winter, so I'm planting cool season cover crops. And just some ideas of some different ones that you can plant would be tillage radishes, mustards, brassicas, clovers, winter rye, Austrian winter peas, chickpeas, I don't know, did I say clovers? Those are just some suggestions for some cool season cover crops. Some warm season cover crops, some suggestions are sun hemp, iron clay peas, buckwheat, sorghum. So those are just a few ideas of some different cover crops that you can plant at different seasons. And keep in mind, try to do a little bit of research and see which ones will benefit and do what you need them to do. So the ones that I've chosen to plant in my crop rotation for the fall is this Austrian winter pea and marbled chickpea and Kodiak brown mustard. And I got a big bag of this one because I'm going to plant a lot of the beds. Probably about 3 of the beds are going to be in this mustard for a reason. Past 2 years, our sweet potato crop has failed. I get these big, beautiful, gorgeous sweet potatoes, tons of them. And then they're eat up with wireworms. Can you see? See the little black holes all in there? For 2 years, I've had this issue. And when you cut them open, now this is a really bad one because I wanted you to see. But when you cut it open, that's what you get. See all the little black holes? Wireworms. I sent a picture to my friend Mallory, who's an extension agent, and she helped me figure out that that's what my problem is wireworms. Isn't that terrible? It's so discouraging, so disappointing. But you can even like see the worm. I was seeing if I could pull a worm out of here to show you. I don't see one though. I was going to show you what it looked like. But that's what the potato looks like. Like it's got these holes all in it. You can see the little black holes, and that's wireworms. And wireworms is in the soil. The wireworm is the larval stage of click beetles. Click beetles, they really won't do any damage to your potato crop. It's the wireworm, the larval stage, that does the damage to your, here's one, to your potatoes. All right, here's one right here. Let's see if you can see it. Can y'all see it? That is a wireworm that I just dug out of my sweet potato. That is so discouraging to have all of these sweet potatoes and I can't eat or store one of them. So discouraging. And the bad thing about this little joker is it lays its eggs in the soil. So the click beetle lays its eggs in the soil, and then the worm is the larval stage of it. And the life cycle can be in the soil for up to 5 years. And I think that's what's happened. So last year the same thing happened, but I did rotate my crops. So I rotated the crops of the white potatoes and the sweet potatoes so that neither one were planted in a prior potato bed. And I thought that might help, but it didn't. So I've got about 4 beds out there where potatoes were previously planted over the past couple of years. And I'm going to do the Kodiak brown mustard seed in hopes that that's going to help stop the life cycle of this pest. That is my hope. And I'm going to plant the mustards in the bed that my sweet potatoes are going to be planted in next year. So hopefully next year I'll get some sweet potatoes. But I'm just trying to figure out an organic method to stop this life cycle of this pest in my soil and hopefully be able to get potatoes next year. Okay, let me go over my little plan with you here. So I told you in a previous video that the first 4 beds of the potager garden are planted with my cool season. These first 4 beds. So the other 5 beds here are all going to be cover crops. This bed here, which is bed number 6, had sweet potatoes in it last year, which also had wireworms. So I'm definitely planting my mustard seed in those. Now this bed, which is number 7, that's going to have the sweet potatoes in it next year. So I'm definitely going to plant the brown mustards in it right now. This bed is the pumpkins that I'm growing to decorate with for the wedding, and they're gonna have to stay a little bit longer. This bed is where I grew the sweet potatoes this year, and it's definitely gonna get the mustards. I don't till these beds. All of my garden beds are no-till beds, and but it's really good soil because, like I told you earlier, I've been working on building this soil from the very beginning. So what I'm going to do is just kind of break it up a little bit, loosen it up, and then I'm just going to broadcast my seed. And then I'll come back and rake it in, lightly rake it in. And I hope that that's going to give enough soil to seed contact that it will germinate. Okay, I got my bed hoed and my soil loosened up really good. So I'm getting ready to broadcast this seed. This is the Kodiak brown mustard seed, and this is a 5-pound bag. This is a lot. It says seeding rate is 0.5 pound per 1,000 square feet, so 1/2 pound, and I've got 5 here, per 1,000 square feet. My beds are roughly 40 by 15, right around 600 square feet per bed. So probably just 1/2 pound of this is going to thickly sow my bed. So I got a lot of seed here. The best time to sow your cover crop seed for cool season is about 4 to 6 weeks before your first frost, is everything that I've read, and that's been recommended. 4 to 6 weeks, because you want it to get a good coverage, like a good ground coverage before the first frost. Now, a lot of your cover crops can take some pretty cold winter temperatures, but you definitely want to get it in the ground and let it get established before your first frost. Today is October the 13th, I believe, and I'm right on the edge. Greg over at Hoss Tools, I watched one of his row by row shows, and he was recommending that in sowing fall cover crop seeds, you want to go, like, I'm zone 8, they're also zone 8, so I'm zone 8, Central Alabama, and my perfect window of sowing cover crops is October 1st through October 15th. So I'm right on the window of doing it. Now you can go a little after, it's not going to hurt anything, but you want to try to get these in and give it time for a good coverage before the first frost. Something really cool that he pointed out on the show that I watched was, so zone 8, I'm October 1st through October 15th. So zone 9, you would be like October 15th through October 30th would be your prime time to plant. If you're like zone 8, you would be September 15th to October 1st or September 30th would be your prime time to plant cover crops. So you're just stepping up or stepping back 2 weeks depending on your planting zones. Hoss Tools really hooked us up on our cover crop seed this year. I'm really excited about that. They have on their website, when you're looking for the seed, the description of each seed is just awesome. If you scroll on down, it gives you so much information about that plant that is so helpful, and I love that about them and their website. It's just the information that they offer, and they have the row by row show that is just a wealth of garden knowledge. I love to watch it. I always gain some valuable garden knowledge from that show. If you guys are in the need for any seed or tools, y'all go check Hoss Tools out. In the description in this video, there's an affiliate link, and y'all can click on that and it'll take you right to their website, and you can order whatever you need. They are an awesome company, and I highly recommend them. All right, let's broadcast this seed. Now I'm just lightly raking it in because mustard seed's pretty small. Now we just need to water it in really good. And the first 3 to 5 days, I'm gonna come out here and water it every day. It'd be really good if you just had like an overhead sprinkler to run over it every day, but I've already put all that up. I've already winterized it and put it all up for the winter. So I'm just gonna come out here every day for the first week and water it really good, just so that seed can germinate. All right, I've got it watered in pretty good, and now I'm just gonna come back with like a really light covering of this hay mulch. I like to do this because just to help keep the birds from coming and getting my seed, and just to cover it until it gets up and going good. I've got a really light layer of hay down, and now I'm just going to water it down really good. I failed to mention on the Kodiak brown mustard seed that it's not edible. It's not the edible mustard. It's more of a biofumigant, and it's real bitter. It's not one that you'll want to eat. It's just primarily for a cover crop. So keep that in mind. So let's recap the steps. All I did was loosened up the soil really good. If you till, you could till the soil. We don't till. We do no till on these beds. So I just loosened it up with a hoe really well. Then I broadcast my seed. I put a light layer of mulch hay over the top of it. Watered it in. Well, first I watered my seed. And then I put a light layer of hay, and now I'm watering my hay. And then the only thing left to do is just pray God's blessings over it, that it will grow. Just like a mustard seed, a little faith like a mustard seed in a garden will grow. Good morning, guys. I didn't get to finish planting my cover crops yesterday. I got sidetracked on another project. So I'm gonna try to get that finished up this morning. I decided what I'm gonna do in 2 of my beds that I'm planting the mustards. I'm gonna do a little mix with these Austrian winter peas. I'm gonna give it a try and see how it works. But my thinking on that is the Kodiak brown mustard will help with breaking that life cycle of that pest, I hope. And then the Austrian winter peas is going to be a great nitrogen fixer for those beds for next season, early spring's crop that I'm going to be planting. So that's what I'm going to do. And I've got this garden seed inoculant that Hoss sent me. So I'm just reading, trying to figure out the math. Math is not my strong suit. In fact, I don't even think that side of my brain functions very well. But anyway. Alright, it says this one little bag will inoculate 8 pounds of seed. Well, I only have 1 pound right here that I'm working with. So I need to use, I guess, about 1/8 of this bag. And it says to place the whole bag in 4.5 ounces of water. So if I'm just using 1/8 of the bag, what would that be? Like, I don't know, 1/2 ounce of water? Lord, I don't know. I'm just gonna do a little guesstimating here. I've never been real great at measuring everything out and doing all the math and down to the point whatever ounce. I'll just go for it. All right, now let's get a little bit of water in here. We'll see. And I'm just gonna use my scissors to stir this up. This is why I'm probably like never gonna be able to have a cooking show. I mean, look, I'm using scissors to stir. I'm guessing on measurements. Oh well, it's all good. So what we're making here, they call it a slurry. And you mix it up really good, and then you put your seeds in there and soak your seeds in it for just a few minutes, and then you sow your seeds immediately. Like, you don't soak them overnight or anything like that. You soak them as soon as possible. You sow them as soon as possible. So what this garden inoculant is, it says it contains a minimum of 200 million viable cells per gram of Rhizobium leguminosarum, a lot of big long words. But basically what it is it is beneficial bacteria that actually helps increase the fixation of nitrogen through the legumes to your soil. So that's like, in a non-scientific way, explain to you what this inoculant is. It's probably about as good as I'm gonna get it. So this is 1 pound of seed. I'm just gonna pour it all in here. Alright. Now I'm gonna let this sit and soak for just a few. And this is my Austrian winter peas, which is like, has a super high level of nitrogen fixation to your soil, which is going to be great for those beds for my future spring crops. did get the soil in this bed loosened up yesterday and ready. And what you see right here, all of these are zinnias and marigolds that's reseeded and popped up, and I'm just leaving them and just sowing the seed around them. I'm just lightly broadcasting this because I want enough to do my other bed too. And I'm gonna be sowing this really thick in my mustard seed. So I'm thinking this is gonna be good. Now I'm just gonna go through and do the steps like I showed you guys earlier. I'm going to sow my mustard seed. I'm gonna rake it in. I'm gonna water it. I'm gonna put a light layer of hay on top of it. I'm gonna water that in, and then this bed will be ready. I got 4 out of the 5 beds planted with my cover crops that I wanted to. I've got 1 bed left to do, and it's this pumpkin bed here. And these pumpkins are still going wild and crazy and just putting on all kinds of beautiful pumpkins. And I don't want to pull this up yet because I'm trying to hold out and get as many pumpkins as I can for the wedding. So I haven't quite figured out my logistics yet on that because I really need to be getting cover crops in the ground so they can get established before our first frost. But I want to leave these pumpkins in this bed, so I don't know. Haven't figured out the logistics. I'm probably just, whenever I'm ready to harvest these, I'll pull them up and I'll just sow the seed and see what happens. I hope this video gave you guys some helpful information on planting cover crops and the benefits of planting cover crops. And I hope it has inspired you to incorporate cover crops into your garden rotation plan. You guys have a blessed week. Happy gardening, and I'll see you on the next video.